Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another Indian dish, but this one is going to be a more like healthier version of the traditional recipe. So I'm actually going to be making okra, bhindi. And I love this recipe because it's the first thing that I learned how to make on my own. There was an interesting story behind that one. So right after I got married, moved in with my husband and his parents, I used to help my mother-in-law cook all the time. So one day she told me to make bhindi, while she's at work, and I'm like, oh, okay, like sure, I'll do it. Although I don't know who I was kidding, because I've never made anything alone in my life before this. So because my mom always helped me before that. So she was like, yeah, just do it, and she like gave me a recipe, and I made it while she wasn't there, and it turned out pretty good. In my opinion, but I'm biased, right? So the only thing was that it just had so much oil that my husband just was not a fan of it. So he's very health conscious, and because he was a vegan, I wanted to make sure I can tweak this recipe to make sure that he is happy with it and he likes it, because I really did not want to eliminate it out of our daily foods along with all the other Indian oily vegetable dishes. So after that, basically everything that I make, I'm very conscious about how much oil I use, and I'm really happy with the recipe that I came up with for this one to eliminate the oil. And now we make it all the time, and it's one of our favorites, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. So whether you usually cook this the traditional way with a lot of oil and basically frying it in oil, or if you are just a non-Indian who likes okra or wants to try it and wants to try a healthy version of it, I think that this would be a great place to start. So I'm going to be using about a pound of okra, and it's cut into little pieces. And going to be using about one medium sized onion chopped into little pieces, and also I have cut 2 medium tomatoes here as well. So 2 medium tomatoes, 1 medium onion, and 1 pound of okra. And so this is how much oil I will be using today to make this dish. And the way to do it is I basically, instead of frying the okra in the oil, which is what the normal recipe entails, I'm going to be just using the oil to make the onions, and then going to be making the okra in the tomatoes. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to need some green masala, which is a combination of green chilies and garlic, ginger, coriander, and cumin. Not as much ginger as all the other ingredients, because ginger is really strong. So we're going to use not as much, but all the other ingredients are plentiful in here. I usually make enough so that I can last for a few days or a week, and I just put it in my fridge, so you can definitely do that as well. So again, those ingredients were garlic, ginger, green chilies, coriander, and cumin. And then I've got all of my traditional Indian spices here. Okay guys, so as promised, we're going to use this minimal oil. This is just about 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil. And I'm going to start by putting it in my wok here. And I've started this on a high temperature. And I'm just going to let the oil heat up a little bit before I add the onions. Okay, so now that the oil is hot, I'm going to go ahead and put in my onions. And you want to cook them until they are a little bit brown, or like semi-cooked, before you add the tomatoes. Okay, so our onions have cooked, and now we're going to add our tomatoes. Another version of this recipe can be completely oil-free if you start with cooking the tomatoes first and then add the onions. That way the onions are cooking in the tomatoes instead of the other way around. But I like to put the onions in first for the flavor, and so I do use minimum oil. And we're just going to stir it up and let this cook so that the tomatoes are all like soggy and watery, allowing it to have a little watery base for our okra to cook after that. All right, so as you can see, the tomato has cooked and it's let out a lot of its water base, and that's what we're going to use to cook the okra. I'm going to stir it up a little bit to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. I'll go ahead and add my okra now. Okay, actually before I add the okra, I'm going to go ahead and add my green masala. I'm going to do a big tablespoonful of that one. Maybe add a little bit extra for good measure, because my husband complains that my food is not spicy enough, so this will show him, hopefully. So we'll go ahead and mix that up real nice before we add the okra in there. I'll go ahead and add my okra. Mix this up nicely as well. And then I'm going to let it cook. Okay, so while it's cooking, you want to just go ahead and stir it every now and then, just so it doesn't start sticking to the bottom. And also just to check how it's going along. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close that up again. Okay, so now I have turned this down on a more medium flame instead of a high flame, and I'm going to go ahead and add my spices. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use about half a teaspoon of haldi, which is turmeric powder. You don't want to use too much of that or the whole dish will become yellow. And then I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of my red chili powder for spice, and 1.5 teaspoons of this one. This is a mix of coriander and cumin powder, also called tanajira powder. So we'll go ahead and coat that up and add some salt. And I'm going to mix this up. So if you've used bhindi before, you'll know that it's very sticky. And one good way to make it a little less sticky is to add just a bit of lemon. So you can use an actual lemon, or you can just use lemon juice out of a bottle. I'm going to add a little bit there, just sprinkle it on there, and then mix it together. This gives it a tangy taste, and it also makes sure that it's not as sticky and glued together as most of the time it does become. Alright, so now the okra and bhindi have been cooking for about 10 minutes or so. I've been stirring it every now and then. And so now it is fully cooked. If you try one, you'll see that it is just a little chewy and not crunchy, which is what it is when it's uncooked. So that's how you know it's cooked. It's chewy and soft instead of being hard and crunchy. And I'm going to just add a garnish of coriander or cilantro, as they call it, and mix it up. Okay, so as you can see, it is still the traditional bhindi masala, but there is no oily residue as what you would normally get in the traditional recipe here. And it's really great to eat with roti. I also like to eat it with rice, although it's not curry based, so but I still like eating it with rice regardless. So yeah, that was the video for today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to my husband for being the cameraman and you know, spending time on this and also inspiring me to make these healthy vegan recipes. So I just want to say thank you for liking, subscribing to my channel, and please tune in for the next video.